Still on the issue of Haiti, Kenya holds Haiti police deployment after Prime Minister resigned. He resigned yesterday. Latest development derails plan, says the PS. Mheshimiwa Makali, let me start with you, and perhaps just start with the front page of the People Daily. What do you make of this? 6 students on their own. I mean, it's been on the headlines for quite some time now, and now People Daily is reporting this. What do you make of this headline?
Yeah, thank you, Oloo, for hosting us.
Right, Kirwa.
It's been long. I'm happy to be back. It's unfortunate when you read that headline. What we are seeing here is not really what we expect to see. What has happened, Oloo, you know, we've moved from the national NHIF to the current arrangement. And what has happened is in the transition period, there has been that gap where the students were left without any insurance. And that's why I'm saying what has happened is very unfortunate.
Yes.
Because what should have happened is, in terms of transition, we should have planned in a way that the students will still remain covered. The whole proposal is good when you look at it, because they are saying you have a family where the father is a member of the NHIF, which means the family is covered. But then you go ahead and then cover a student who is a member of that family.
Yes.
You reach some double kind of cover. So this arrangement where you have only a family being covered and everybody in the family is covered is a better arrangement. But I think the fact that we are not able to manage that transition, to me, that's what I'm saying is unfortunate. It should not have happened in a country where people are planners and good planners. Yes.
Mheshimiwa Sossion, good morning.
Good morning, Victor.
You look worried about this headline.
Well, of course, it should worry us if, rightly as Makali stated,
yes.
We are transiting to universal health coverage. And in universal health coverage, it is all households being covered by the medical scheme or insurer. And therefore, that means all the students will also be covered. And you are aware there have been court issues back and forth when the students' coverage in terms of transition was terminated legally towards end of last year. But I think the headline may not be giving us also the right picture as such, because all students must be treated in the nearest medical facilities close to their institution. That lacuna is not there. The only thing is administrative action to ensure that all students are treated for the time being, and not just all students, even Kenyans. And I think this is a matter of time before it's done away with, because we must move to the UHC program. And as we do, we must also ensure that Kenyans are properly treated during the transitional period. I think that should be the philosophy. It should not just be only students, but the rest of Kenya.
Yes.
So,
Maungu, Parliament is overworking and Senate is now here. Again, we have this. What do you make of this headline?
Well, fortunately, I sit in the Departmental Committee on Education, and yesterday, Belly appeared before us on the same matter.
Yes.
And it's a fact that students are on their own. I say so because we are in a transition period. As Mheshimiwa Mulu said, is that the universal health coverage is a good idea.
Yes. But
provisions are not put in place to ensure that students are well protected during this transition phase. So currently, as we speak, they are on their own. And yesterday, the PS was at pains to explain because how kids who previously were under the Edu-Afya cover, for example, were on medical care or sought medical attention outside the country, and these kids had severe conditions that required them to be taken care of. And now here comes a case whereby they have now written to parents saying that this cover has come to an end. Some year last year, somewhere there, and therefore you need to find an alternative way.
Right.
Defined, you and I, maybe it may be possible for me to take care of my kid, but there's that vulnerable parent in Luanda who is unable to take care of the kid. And therefore, Edu-Afya came in to protect such a person, to ensure that he or she is well covered. So it's a fact the students are on their own, and the universal health coverage is a good idea. But what we lacked was good planning, which will ensure that the kids are taken care of and handed over to the new scheme, which will now take care of the overall case. So it's unfortunate. But
what's the proposal from the committee? What did you get from the PS in details, perhaps, to shed more light on this?
You know, we wanted to find out the real position of government in terms of this, because, you know, out there when you go out, parents come to our offices. Some of them, you know, initially, you know, people may not have known the impact of Edwafia, but believe me that this cover did provide a lot of reprieve to parents who others will not be able. And therefore, they are the ones talking out there and crying that now they've been left on their own.
Yes.
In fact, in Swahili, people say, someone has been taking care of you all through. All of a sudden now, you're on your own. So we wanted to find out, but now from the position that we got yesterday was that they envisage that the social health insurance fund,
yes,
which should be more of a universal protection, people take care of such. But in the meantime, unfortunately, there's no other way. Parents have been told now, take care of your kid until that time, because you remember court cases were there that ensured that kind of derailed the plan. But beside that, the universal health coverage is a good plan, which, if well implemented, then will therefore bring many people who others will not be in the scheme into proper medical care.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for that. I'll ask you more questions later on for that. Now that you've seen that committee and the PS appeared before yesterday. Mheshimiwa Abraham, the people of Mosop are watching, and perhaps they need to hear your voice as far as this is concerned as well.
Thank you,
Kenyans
Victor.
in general.
Yeah, thank you, Victor.
Right.
I think this is a genuine concern for most of the students, but at the same time, people daily have not been very fair, because they know very well that the UHC, which the government is rolling out, is going to really cover everybody. The Social Health Insurance Fund is intended actually to cover all families, you know, from children all the way to parents. So in this transition period, which most of the members have mentioned here, is that there is that lacuna that we are trying to see, what do we do with the children now at this time, that the UHC is not in effect, and also NHIF has come to an end. So within that period of time, I'm sure that the government is looking into something to make sure that the children or these students are covered. But at the same time, it's not that the government is not aware of concerns of some of these students who may not have the coverage. They are very aware, like a member mentioned, Member of Parliament Mheshimiwa mentioned that Belia was present yesterday to actually address these issues, and I think the Ministry of Education is actually addressing the matter, and I think it will be taken care of. One is that Kenyans, not only the students, most of the Kenyans are still also wondering, what do we do now that NHIF has come to an end? As we transition to Social Health Insurance Fund, what should we use? Because, you know, Victor, the biggest cost right now in this country is healthcare. We do a lot of fundraisers. Every weekend in my constituency, I attend a lot of fundraisers just because most people cannot afford actually to pay. And that is why we say these people are going to courts to stop the implementation of UHC, are doing Kenyans unfair, because now look at the students are just left to Kwamata. Look at most of the Kenyans are going through a lot of these struggles just because the UHC is not in effect. The NHIF has come to an end. So we want to make sure that we affect the issue of SHIF so that all Kenyans will be covered. And that's what it says, regardless of those who are able, there's so many who may not be able to afford to pay for their SHIF. The government will pay for them. And I think this, once it's in effect, Kenya is going to be one of the best countries to handle the issues of health. So it's a genuine concern, yes, and I think it's being addressed as we move forward. But at the end of the day, when SHIF, social health insurance, is being implemented well, it will be for the best of the country.
Again, I don't think what Mheshimiwa Maungu you're going to say as far as that is concerned, because we call it shift now from NHIF, it's going to be shift. So there's that window period. Allow me to just interrogate you further on that. There's that window period. So what's going to happen then? Well, the government is aware. So what else?
And that's our problem, because you find, as Moshe has put, this program came to an end last year in October, end of October. Now these kids have been left on their own from November, December, because initially it was envisaged that the NSHF could have been in program early.
All right.
But how I wish, for example, because there was a contract that was extending, how I wish that terminated in October, that the government would have extended that contract by maybe let's say 6 months. that will ensure that the kids are taken care of in the meantime. You know, you find that most organizations, including this one, it's a medical scheme for the staff.
Yes.
And should they want to shift from one scheme to the other, they will not leave their staff exposed. They will have to take them protected during that cover. Now, we are a country with great men and women who are great thinkers. I wonder how there came up an opportunity that there was no one who to think beyond that and say, we have a gap of 6 or 7 months. Who is going to take care of these kids within these 7 months? A kid is in India on a program, maybe heart condition or whatever condition. Now, who is taking care of that kid during that time? What means that this is a kid of a poor parent. This parent cannot be able to afford medical care for this person. We are waiting for something, you know, we are selling hope. But this guy is in a place that he needs this hope today. So I believe universal health coverage is a great idea, and we all support it because it will bring in more, and it will actually, you know, take off from leaders maybe the burden of taking care of, you know, these smaller ramps every other day. But in the meantime, we failed as a country because we didn't provide alternatives. We don't provide mechanisms that will ensure that in the meantime of 6 or 7 months, these kids are covered. And we are crying because of those needy parents, you know, in those rural areas. A village in Luanda, for example, we only have a level 4. We find that those extreme conditions, the EDUAFIA will take care of this kid, to an extent of even taking them out of the country. Now this kid is back. Like we were told yesterday, about 9 of them. We have 9 such conditions that
out of the country.
Who now came back.
Yes.
Letters were written out to the parent, giving them back to the parent, that this program has come to an end. So could you find alternatives of taking care of this? And that's what you're saying. I think our planners failed us on this because they could have provided, you know, from October now, imagine November to now, maybe 1 or 2 may have lost their lives in this unfortunate scenario. Yeah.
Okay. Mheshimiwa Makali, I can see you are nodding on this.
No, you know, I think let's call a spade a spade. We want to be very honest with ourselves. Some people failed in managing the transition on this matter. And from what Mheshimiwa said, because he sits in that committee, imagine somebody who had a child in somewhere like India, and you're already stuck there, you have medical bills to sort, you're not prepared yourself to sort these medical bills because somebody was paying for you. All of a sudden, you are told you are on your own. You can imagine the kind of, that period, what you put that family through. And that's what we are saying, really. Despite the fact that we are moving from one insurance arrangement to another one, it is important we manage that transition. And that's where we failed. Let the ministry just own up, say we failed, next time we'll do it better. And let's learn the lessons we've already learned through this and make sure that as we move to the future, this will never happen again. The debate here is not about whether we are moving to a better scheme. The debate is, did you manage the transition well? And the answer is, no, they did not manage the transition, especially on this, it's called what?
EDUAFIA. Yes.
They failed in managing that. Yes.
Mheshimiwa Sossion, because at the end of the day, somebody would argue that students are innocent, parents are innocent, but the planners now, the whole question is about the planners. So who's going to refund that money? There's that transition period. Is it going to be rolled over to the next scheme? Perhaps, Mheshimiwa Maungu, you will help us answer that. Is it going to be rolled over? And did the government foresee this, the transition period and that lacuna?
Ideally, we should not be talking about who really should cover the students.
Yes.
EDUAFIA is a government program, and therefore students cannot be abandoned simply because we are transiting to another scheme. In that transition period, of course, it was expected if litigations did not come up, and we've seen a lot of litigations against government programs that have remained in abeyance, and some of the programs are being recalibrated through legislation again in Parliament. And it's so unfortunate that this court litigations has affected smooth transition from NHIF to SHIF. And when the court orders were issued, I don't think anybody was ready for this kind of confusion.
Yes.
But my firm belief is students who are sick should be treated by the government. That's a fact for sure. They should be protected and treated by the government. We have health facilities out there, whether they're public or private. we have students who are evacuated out of the country. We cannot talk about transferring the bills to the parents.
Yes.
Yes, of course, universal health coverage is based on a clear financial framework of contributions from the citizens.
Yes.
And also the indigents who cannot pay will be covered by the government. So one way or the other, there will be some payments to be made. So the interim measures that should be put in place is to ensure that students are treated for the time being, even during the transition, without transferring the cost to the household. That is a decent thing to do. If really we are committed, and I believe government is so committed to roll out universal health coverage and implement the 4 different acts that have been enacted by Parliament. So really we should not discuss that students are on their own. If students are sick, they are under the jurisdiction and supervision of government through the Ministry of Education. So specific and special arrangements should be made and ensure that these students are treated, even if it means transferring the cost to the next level when we have the UHC fully operational. Then part of its expenditure should be backdating payments for the students who have been covered, because they have a right to be treated. So according to me, we should not even imagine neglecting students from being treated simply because we are in a transition. We must have clear administrative mechanisms to ensure that students are treated. Yeah, it should be.
Situation.
That should be, and I think that's what the committee should do. And the committee should not negotiate with what needs to be done. It should ensure that it is enforced and students are treated. That we can negotiate, according to me, from where.
I hear Mheshimiwa Sossion, and his points are valid. But as we speak, the kids are on their own. Because you see, budgetary provision wasn't made to ensure that in the transition, in the meantime, these kids are taken care of. So the contract came to an end, and it was terminated. And that's why I was saying that the peers who appeared before us yesterday say that they now notified parents that this program has unfortunately come to an end. So alternative measures should be done to ensure this kid is on a medication. So you find that that's why we are talking about the planners. What Mheshimiwa is saying is very valid. But you see, that never happened. That never happened. Because how would Sossion, not Sossion, but Mheshimiwa, I mean, the PS Belio, for example, get funds to finance that when such was not provided for, as much as Parliament is supposed to budget, to play a role in that budgeting. So you find that it came to an end and the kids are left on their own. What had been envisaged initially was that the SHF should take over. But you see, it delayed. So now kids are supposed to survive under the NHIF that is existing. And I'm selective of the word survive, because some parents are not covered under NHIF. It depends with who is able to pay. So you find that now it's a very tricky position, by the way, and sometimes a very sad one, especially for those parents who are unable. Those parents whose kids had, severe conditions and needed to be taken care of. That's where the problem is. And it's that unfortunate. It's
a bit unfortunate.
Yes.
All right, gentlemen, let's take a break and we come back. We're going to continue. And the Prime Minister of Haiti resigned yesterday.
Yes.
1,000 police officers were supposed to be sent, but then now there's another info that there's going to be a delay in sending the police officers to Haiti. What do we stand or gain in as far as this is concerned? Let's interrogate that further when we come back after this break. Please stay with us. Now, just yesterday, the Prime Minister of Haiti, that is Ariel Henry, resigned amidst chaos that has rocked that Caribbean nation. And the government was planning to send 1,000 police officers to restore calm and order in that troubled country. Now, the ministry, through the CPS, said that the deployment of police officers will, is a bit off track. So what does that really mean to that particular country? Because they say they need to have a substantial power and authority, center of authority for them to have this transaction done. In as much as this is happening, again, the America was also promised 41 billion shillings to aid that. Let me start with you, Makali. So where are we? To send or not to send? To have a stable country in Haiti or not? Where is Kenya? What do we stand to gain or lose? So many questions in one. Go ahead.
Although that's a very interesting question. that I would say we are where we are.
Yes, where we are now.
Because, you know, this matter of Kenya as a country sending police officers to Haiti has been a very contentious issue. A lot of Kenyans, Makali included, we've been saying we don't think this is the right decision at this point, informed by what is happening in Haiti. It was not informed by the fact that we need to send people out there. There were those people who were hanging from a legal framework saying we didn't have any legal framework which would enable this country send our policemen to Haiti. And it's as a result of that the Prime Minister of Haiti came here, and they were able to sign some papers with our memorandum of understanding with our president. But you know, look at this. The Prime Minister comes to Kenya, and by the time he is planning to go back, he can't land in his country because of these gangs. You know what we need to note is that when you call somebody a gang is somebody who has analyzed all their risks, and they have said, I'm ready to take these risks, and they are very daring. So imagine a Prime Minister who has special security teams to guard him. He wants to land in the country, he can't land, and our policemen with their G3 are being sent to that country. They will be missed meat. They will just be killed, all of them. So what we have been saying is, this plan needs to be planned, and I think this was actually God's doing, what has happened. That this guy resigned, because I think what God is telling us is that, guys, hold on a bit. You send these sons and daughters of yours to Haiti, they all come back in coffins. And it's good that now we are saying, I like what the PS was saying, that now with the new development, we may not be able to send our people to Haiti. That might be delayed a bit. Because what is happening, you know, Haiti, there is nothing called a government. There is no structured government where you can say you can interact with anybody. Now you have seen they are talking about a council, to form a council to take the leadership in the interim period. And you can see what is happening. America is proposing to give us 41 billion, but at the same time they are evacuating their citizens in Haiti. So you can see the irony. You are telling you give me money to send my people to Haiti to go and die. At the same time, you're actually evacuating your citizens. Yes. So if it is safe, that is safe. Why don't you allow your citizens to remain there, and then we send the Kenyan police so that Kenyan police together with the American citizens are together in Haiti, and then we can improve the situation. But it's not where we have Kenyans in and Americans out, and then we have the money. I don't think any money in this country would be good enough to warrant our soldiers to go out there. And then these gangs take, because when you look at this gang, it's good that now these days we have social media. At times you see clips in the social media, the way these guys even walk, you know, they just normal walking, you can see the kind of confidence they have. They walk just on the streets, harassing everybody. There seems to be nobody who cares whether there's government or no government. And now you can see this guy has already resigned. He's become a raya. And then it's good that we have nobody now to sign with. Let our policemen remain here. We will be more than willing to support our brothers in Haiti because they are black like us. But at the right time. We don't want also to expose our soldiers to a life where they will end up dying. It will be very bad for this country if we got our people back in coffins. Mheshimiwa Abraham.
Victor, I think the issue that we have in Haiti is more of a political problem than really an issue of gangs. The issue that is going on now, that the Prime Minister has resigned, they are trying to figure out who is going to take over after him. The issue that needs to be addressed is we need to have a negotiated democracy in Haiti. The governments now that are trying to bring peace to the nation of Haiti needs to now sit down and say, even sending soldiers, sending police officers at the moment, is it going to make any difference? I believe that what Kenya is doing is right because they want to see peace in Haiti. But now, sending police officers to a nation where there is no government is actually going to be a big problem. And I think the president, when he accepted to send the police officers, he knew that there was a government, the Prime Minister came, they negotiated a deal with them, and they agreed that moving forward, we are going to be able to do something. And that was okay. But now that things have changed, I think it's wise to look back and say, now that there is no government in place, the Prime Minister is not in place, many other things are not in place, why don't we look for a way to stabilize, first of all, Haiti? Once it's now stabilized, and there is a government in place, then we send a peacekeeping mission forces, where now they are going to maintain peace in Haiti. That one I do support, and I still support what the president said, that, you know, these are our brothers, these are the people, they fought for the independence, they were able to chase the British away, and they were able to become independent. But what Haitians are saying is that for a very long time, we've not been able to have an independent election.
Yes.
They believe that most of their leaders have been imposed by the West.
Or even the Prime Minister was unelected. He didn't have legitimate powers.
So now that's where the issue actually is. Because as you look at what's happening, we call them gangs. These are people really, they are fighting for their freedom of, you know, they want to be free. They want to have an independent government. And so I think this is a great opportunity now that there is a window, that there's a possibility to now try to restore peace by just having a legitimate government in Haiti. And once we have this legitimate government in place, now it will be easier to bring in the peacekeeping forces who are going to maintain peace in Haiti.
Yeah.
But moving in right now with 1,000 police officers from Kenya, police officers here, we know, they don't go to war. They don't go to, they maintain law and order. That is, you know, watumishi kwa wote. These are not military, these are people that maintain peace. But now, which peace are you going to maintain when there is chaos already in the ground?
That's a good question.
So I think the president is good, is right when he says we need peace, and I support him that we need peace in Haiti. We have to, when our brothers cry, like the Prime Minister came, but even he himself now is out of place. He's already resigned. He said, I'm out. So if he himself is already out, then we need to listen. We need to look back. And I like when they said, now we're going to stay back a little bit and review the situation on the ground and say, now that there is no government, no major government in place, what should we do? It was a good thing in the past, in the first place, to just send police officers because there was a government. But at the moment now that he has resigned, we don't know how things are going to go, we should not rush in. The U.S. has committed $41 billion that they are going to put in, so that, but they are also evacuating their people also from Haiti, because they are saying that the country is becoming extremely unstable, and so citizens come first. So I think moving forward, we will still send. I still believe that it would be wise to send our police officers, but not now.
But not now.
But not now.
Let's look at it this way. So, according to you, you're saying that there need to be some substantial government, first of all, before we send our troops. But Mheshimiwa Maungu, I'll look at it this way. How are they going to get their power or their government in place, and yet they've assassinated some of their presidents in the past? I mean, how are they going to do it? Perhaps Kenya was going to help them to stabilize.
Well, thank you. I stand from the point that sending our soldiers to Haiti was a mistake. And I'm one of those who opposed that in Parliament. Because, you know, and we are vindicated in a way. Because you remember what happened in Capedo one time when we took a contingent of soldiers to go and try to bring some order. These kids, I mean, these people, very young soldiers, police having come from Kiganjo, were like minced meat because they were overpowered. Yeah. Now, you take our people, Kenya, we brag of having a police force that is well trained. But now you take these people to a country that is in anarchy, a country that has got gangs are moving about with guns and other weapons. And you want to take our people there before you even know the geography of the place. Before you understand what happens to the place, I mean, you are minced meat and you are done. So for us, we did oppose it. And it's true that the court sided with us by saying that, you know, talking about that bilateral kind of arrangement. And the Prime Minister flew back to come and do it. But the irony of this is that now the US government finances the operations. But on the other side, evacuates its non-essential staff out of Haiti and gives a cautionary statement to its people that don't you go to Haiti because you'll be murdered or killed. And therefore, but gives us money because you are a pure state and all we need is money. You know, take our people there, our sons there, to go and, you know, keep peace and whatever. You know, it is important to keep peace because Kenya has played a great role in the neighborhood, trying to keep peace. But the safety of our people is very important, and the safety of our soldiers was very, very key. So finally, this has happened because no government in place, and I believe you saw the Council of the Caribbean countries sat down and told this guy, now you have to step down. You imagine that the Prime Minister flew into Kenya, signed an agreement, but couldn't go back. And our question was now, if this guy has not been able to land back, how on earth would therefore our soldiers be able to go and land and take possession and be able to control, I mean, kind of bring law and order? To me, it was a big miss, and I'm happy that our soldiers will not be going there, because the question is that there's no government. Whether there's government or no government, I mean, it was a bit a risky place to take our soldiers to start with. Yes.
Sossion, as you comment on that, there's going to be a delay. But even after that, so does the bilateral agreement still stand? What's your take?
I think we should look at this Haiti crisis differently. It's a very deep humanitarian crisis. And I've been receiving calls and correspondence from Caribbean teachers from the Bahamas, Jamaica, and even Haiti itself, asking, when are the Kenyan soldiers coming? We need peace in Haiti. When this pronouncement was made, the expectations have been raised within the Caribbean, and people expect that at least there will be some sense of order. But with the developing situation, it's time for us to think deeply, particularly the African continent. These are our brothers. These are human beings. These are members of the human race. They need peace. And I agree with the president that a lot needs to be done to ensure that Haiti is restored. And my belief is that the UN then, Security Council or the UN organ, should be able to review the status of Haiti. And I agree very strongly, we need to bring peace. What is it that the gangs, why are the gangs overrunning government?
Yes.
What is organically not working politically within the Haiti itself? That needs to be addressed, so that then there is some sense of stability and equilibrium. If these gangs can organize itself into a formidable and orderly political force, so be it. So that then Haiti can be assisted by international community to organize itself and restore law and order. Because what we are getting is a deep concern that we are losing the country, we are losing humanity, we are losing everything, and therefore, according to me, we don't need to celebrate that our soldiers have not gone. Our soldiers should still prepare to go.
Do you agree there's an irony there? 41 billion shillings dangled for Kenya.
No, listen, I think a lot needs to be done beyond the money.
And the big boy is saying, evacuating their people.
No, and let's not look at Haiti through the lens of the U.S. If we do that, it's the wrong thing to do. Let's look at Haiti from the lens of humanitarian crisis. And these are our own brothers and sisters. And if indeed certain strategic actions of the U.S. are complicating peace in Haiti, we should speak about it. And so what is it? And according to me, even the sending of police officers to Haiti was not a decision by Kenya. It's a resolution through the UN. And that should still stand. And therefore, I think there is need to revisit and reorganize the peace mission in Haiti. Maybe we may need the military and a UN peacekeeping force. We've done it. What is the UN doing about Haiti? Is the UN transacting business from day-to-day basis while humanitarian situation is deepening in Haiti? The UN should come in very strongly, and Kenya has already volunteered to send its own forces, but it cannot do it at the moment alone. It needs to be a concerted international effort so that we bring peace in Haiti. And I agree with the president. Sending our forces and ensuring that they are safe and they deliver peace is a good thing. So those are things we need to look at. But we don't need to say, yes, let us not send our soldiers to Haiti.
Makali, you said that this was a blessing, and you agree that, according to you,
in disguise, yeah.
It's a blessing in disguise. Look, the Foreign Affairs Principal Secretary, that is Koris Ngwe, said that the departure of Prime Minister had found, and now the government will now work to with the mission. It's not going to mark the mission yet. So the question is, so what are we going to lose in that situation currently? What are we going to lose? What are you going to gain as a country or police officers to Haiti?
You know, I think from what Honorable Sossion is saying, there are two facts we must appreciate. That we need peace in Haiti. That's a fact. It doesn't change peace in Haiti. How we achieve that peace is not the question. Do we achieve that peace, people losing their lives, or do we achieve it in a better structured way that at the end of the day, we achieve peace, but we have very little in terms of losing lives as a country? You know, Kenya is part of the international community. So in a situation where we are seen to be participating in promoting peace, is a good thing. We are saying we cannot do that at the cost of the lives of our own people. And that's why you see all along we have said, this issue of us sending people to Haiti, from here to Haiti. You know, we have sent peacekeepers to Western Africa here, which is not very far. Look at even the journey from here to Haiti. Imagine you wanted to evacuate your people from Haiti back to Kenya. How does it take the same time as evacuating from Haiti to US? US is very near from Haiti. I'm saying that what has happened now, and that's why I was saying it's a blessing in disguise, is that now it has given us an opportunity to on our earlier decision. And that's why I like what the PS Foreign Affairs is saying. He's saying now with what has happened, now that the Prime Minister has resigned, and think around it again, because now we no longer have any government. So I like what Ono is also saying. If the gangs were to convert themselves to we achieve peace, it's also another way. For me, I have no problem. So long as there's peace in Haiti, we all agree. But then a situation where you have two parties, and it looks like from my assessment, where I sit, it looks like the wing which is being supported by the gangs is actually the most powerful wing. Because they have already killed a sitting president, and they have made sure that even
has resigned, has not landed back, but
could not even land to that. So it means these are the guys who wield the power. How I wish that they could just now, from their team, get one of them to be the of the government, stabilize and move on. That's my imagination, because then we must agree, we must accept these are the guys. So my fear is, if we were to send Kenyan policemen now to all this power, they'll just kill them, and then we start to amend.
We've had our own fair share as a country, and we've always found a solution to it.
Yes.
Just recently, that report is in Parliament. It was all about political powers.
Yeah, the article.
Don't you all agree that we need a political, approach?
Obviously, we need a political problem so that you stabilize a country.
Yes.
And then you need to sort out the political issues before you bring the peacekeeping teams.
Yes. So perhaps, Mheshimiwa Abraham, this to resign must have been a chain of consultations, and now this is just but a step towards the right direction.
Yes, Victor. You see, Prime Minister is not allowed to land in his own country. That means there is a bigger problem than just bringing peace. When you talk of gangs, these are not ordinary gangs. That
last week, 40,000 inmates broke from jail. 40,000 of them.
40,000. So regular gangs in Nairobi, in the streets of, that we say send police to deal with these gangs. These are political people who are trying to seek their... We call them gangs, we might call them whatever we do, but there has to be a solution, and it has to be a political solution. And I'm glad now that the government is stepping it's the right thing to do, so that we can now reevaluate and look at the Haiti in general. What does Haiti really need? Do they need a peacekeeping force, or do we really need to come up with a way to stabilize this country by having an and have now maybe the US and many other international organizations come in and now monitor, so that now they will feel like this is, when they have their own government, they will want peace. There is nobody in this world who doesn't want peace. Everybody wants peace. Haitians, they want peace. And so it is a very unique country.
Yeah.
So we need to look at it, all of us, before we enter, so that we don't take sides. Because it's very easy to go into a country and take the gangs are on the wrong, and those people who are in government are on the right. But chances are there has to be a problem in Haiti. And then now, how do we stabilize the country? Then at that point, do they need, because the total number of soldiers or police officers in Haiti is 9,000.
Yes.
9,000 police. And of course, they are being overwhelmed. The gangs are in thousands. It's way beyond police officers. They have bigger weapons than police officers. And it's so hard, even for these 9,000 police officers, to restore peace and order in the country. So it is not just rushing in. And I really like the way the government has handled it now. And they say, let's sit. How do we help this country? Kenya was not going to only go there by itself. They were going to go together with other countries. It was only that the leader was going to be Kenya. It volunteered. But at the same time, the rest of the countries were going to join us. So my suggestion and my opinion is that government to look into it, sit down, and then reevaluate. If it's a political solution that we need to give them, we come up with a political solution.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure the president is going to consult with several region and also international leaders, so that when we move in with a solution that is going to help Haiti.
Yeah. You know, the big question is, who is supplying firearms to these people? Till they're armed to the teeth, almost dusk to dawn. They're armed. Mheshimiwa Maungu, at the end of the day, I'm still asking this question. So what are you going to gain or lose as a country? I don't know whether to call it that why are we getting that a lot of attention? The other day when West Africa was on fire, the soldiers were sent and then are back. For the longest time, almost over 10, 13 years now. South Sudan, we've also sent our soldiers there. So what's so special with Kenya? What are you going to gain to Haiti?
Thank you. Maybe looking at our history, Kenya has been known to be a peacemaker in the region. And we've put it that we have been involved, our soldiers and our men have been involved in peacekeeping missions across our region.
Yes.
And Kenya has therefore been that moves in to kind of bring peace and order because of how we've behaved in the past. But Kenya as a country, we are gifted differently. You know, we've had our own share of problems. We have challenges. I think we've always sat down around the table and agreed, including the very recent one when we had Mandamano and what have you. Now, yesterday or the other was tabled as a result of having that. So Kenya is gifted differently. Haiti is on the other extreme because you may want are having sophisticated weapons. These gangs seem to have clearly organized systems that are working, because to bring down you need to really be well coordinated. That
is like a clear coup.
It's a clear coup.
Yes.
You know, it's some kind of a force, because the way this ammunition is, how does it reach these people? You know, there's an order, there's a command that these guys have, and therefore what's happening in Haiti, it may not be just an problem. And Mheshimiwa Daktari said here that those guys should now sit and decide among themselves now who is the president, so that there's peace. That it is a political problem. And I love the fact that the Council of the Caribbean Nations sat down and had to implore upon the Prime Minister and so that there can be peace, because we need to see some semblance of peace in Haiti. And the first thing is when, you know, the council sat down and if there's going to be peace. And I believe by stepping down, then these gangs will, maybe they were so agitated, maybe they'll also scale down their anger and be able to discuss. Now, you've asked me one question: what are we supposed to gain? Well, had that mission been successful, maybe Kenya would have gotten extra being a country that moves in to bring peace when there's disunity, or kind of bring some kind of order, because we've participated in Somalia.
These are the KDF,
yeah,
police officers. You
see, we've been using the soldiers, the KDF,
yes,
who have good reputation. But as you know, just even handling Maandamano was a nightmare for them, honestly speaking. You remember what happened during Maandamano, and our boys are not that, you know, they're not like the Haitians. But you find that our soldiers got it really tough. Making that soldier run the whole day, a guy from Kibera will really make... Taking this kid, this soldier, to a country like Haiti, where these guys, they even seem to have some super training on how to use their ammunitions and how to do their thing. I want to differ with my colleagues that it was a wrong thing to send our people there.
Yeah.
I still want to maintain that, but it was wrong. But thanks to it, as Mheshimiwa says, that our sons will be back here. Let's watch from far and see how it's going to happen. Because on the other side, what could you have lost sons through that kind of an arrangement, because it was not safe for them at all, at all.
All right.
I saw, the other issue is that there's a serious outbreak of cholera.
Where?
In Haiti. If you read what was happening, there's a serious outbreak of cholera in that country. So here you are faced with a scourge of a disease that is claiming thousands, right? On the other side now, you also have free roaming people with serious ammunition that what we are carrying. So it's going to be seriously bad for people. So for me, I celebrate that we are not there, though I will also want to have peace in Haiti, because peace in Haiti will also be peace.
Mheshimiwa Sossion.
I think the participation of Kenya in international peace enforcement and programs is not a new thing. And we have capacities to do so. And we've delivered. Part of our human responsibility is to cultivate and promote global peace. It's a duty. And, Kenya leading a multinational forces to Haiti is a responsibility to humanity. We should look at it from that angle, and we've demonstrated as that we can be a strong democratic country, peace, and we can deliver peace in other regions of the world where it is required. But of course, looking deep is more political, and are there other players who have other interest within Haiti? And that is why it's completely done. Why is a president who is popularly elected killed? Why is a prime minister who is popularly elected blocked from entering the country? Where you allow democracy to thrive and people to be truly free,
all right,
their infrastructure will protect their leaders.
Okay.
I still believe Haiti question must be looked at more energetically and vigorously, and we've seen the Council of trying to provide Caribbean solutions. Those are things that we need to consider and integrate with what the UN is providing. There is an opportunity that multinational forces will deliver in Haiti.
I need to serve you tea.
That should be allowed.
I know what I know what will make you stop. I need to serve you tea.
Give me tea.
Stay with us. I want to... there is that amendment already before by the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee. The position of CS is necessary.
The members of parliament are here.
You know what I'm talking about.
The members of parliament are here. Conflicted because
when you come back,
I will be affected by the same.
You've been struggling for long. You must be happy. Let's take a break.
The country should be happy. The country should
we'll
be
right back. Stay with us. All right, welcome back. With this gentleman here on set, matters national concern. I'll come back to that later on. Let me ask a question based on what's happening, and let's come back to the NADCO reporters. Close of this one. Mheshimiwa, Maungu, you've been part of a member of Azimio. So the report is in Parliament finally. It was handed over to President, and Raila Odinga also have a copy. What do you make of it finally, now that we are here?
Thank you. Well, to a large extent, the report is okay, and it's a good beginning.
Yes.
Because NADCO was a result of a series of demonstrations here and there that came as a result of the last elections. One of the great achievements we've had in NADCO is that elections of 2022 will be audited. That's a key milestone. Let's see what really happened. Secondly, the national government CDF, so that now it is part of, or it's constitutional, because as you are declared unconstitutional previously. The other issue is that we now are having the office of the official leader of opposition, which, because previously, after, like in the last election, the difference was about 100,000 or so. But this guy is left in the cold. But now we are saying the tax office, and this guy will be supposed to oversight government. So to a large extent, I'll say that it's a good beginning, and I hope if well implemented, then it should be able to seal the loopholes that have existed, and hopefully that the coming elections of 2027 will be working on the same parameters to ensure that we don't go back into what happened recently. So to me, NADCO is a game changer, and I want to use this opportunity to congratulate His Excellency the President and the Right Honorable Raila Odinga for having sat around the table and solved their issues. Because I believe out of that now, maybe going forward, some of the gaps we had, this bill is before us, and I believe pieces of legislation are coming before us to ensure that we enact laws which will be able to seal those loopholes that existed.
And do you believe it should be enacted the way it is?
Well, the committee has proposed in Parliament, and as you know, Parliament is a house of rules and creating laws. So I believe members will articulate themselves and be able to see gaps that exist in that and improve on that. But it's a good framework. All right. From where I sit.
Mheshimiwa Abraham.
Victor, I think I applaud the team that really negotiated this NADCO report. At the end of the day, the NADCO report was really to stabilize the country. You know, when there was demonstration on the streets, putting on of, sufurias on the head and many other things, it was not a good image, or it was not good for this country. So this report was unanimously adopted by both houses, the Senate and also our Parliament. And as such, that means moving forward, it looks like both sides have agreed on most of the things, including now the position of leader of the opposition, position of the Prime Minister, audit of the 2022 election, and many other things that they've agreed in there. I truly want to applaud President William Ruto for reaching out to the opposition leader, Raila Odinga, because the two leaders kind of agreed that the country is bigger than the two of us. And as such, Azimio and also Kenya Kwanza, if they agree, that means really the rest of us, members of parliament from Azimio, members of parliament from Kenya Kwanza, will have to, because the leadership have agreed. And as such, unless there will be some major contentions moving forward, which I don't see, I think this report will be implemented. I think there will be teams of 3 who are going to sit down, review, and then there will be another team of 6 as well who are going to come in and then finalize it. But as we move forward as a nation, I think there are some things that we have to agree that after every election, we should not be here. Because, Victor, if you look at really why we are here, it's because of disputed elections. And as such, as a country that has matured over 60 years independent, we should really not be just, having a report like NADCO. NADCO is just, it's a negotiation dog. But if it's a democratic nation, which is Kenya, is a democratic nation, after an election, we should be able to agree and say, yes, the winner has won. Let's move on. Peace to be stabilized in the country, and we move forward. So I want to applaud the two leaders who have agreed that let's sit down and agree, and they have agreed. They gave people from both sides. They came up with this report. report, it came to Parliament, now it's moving forward to be implemented. I think it's good for the country, it's good for all of us, and it's good for the region.
Mheshimiwa Makali, at the end of the day, Wiper leader was co-chair there.
Yes, sure. Right. Let me say this. The NATCO report is not 100% perfect. In that it didn't capture much to do with cost of living. But I supported it because of two reasons. One reason, it is a negotiated report where there was a lot of give and take. And the fact that that was negotiated, it means that then both sides of the divide, political divide, have serious input into it, and they have arrived at a consensus. So on that fact, I support it. The second reason why I support it is the whole process stabilized the country. That we moved from the streets, went back to offices, started working, and business people got back to their businesses and started working so that we develop our country. So on those two grounds, I support the report, and I still believe that whatever has been captured there, we might need to support it the way it is to avoid getting back to a situation where we have conflict again. There are some areas where you would have wanted more improvements, but as I said, there's give and take. So since our team started to agree on that, I think it's important we all support it. But the issue, the fact that they didn't address cost of living, we can't say it's a perfect report.
So out of it, because the cost of living was not addressed, it's not 100%. Mheshimiwa Sossion, at the end of the day, it's in the hands of the two gentlemen. So either way, the three gentlemen in Parliament will have to work on it.
You know, the NATCO report, and we've discussed these matters all through.
Yes.
Now, finally, we shall have a prime minister. Finally, we shall have a prime minister. We shall have a leader of opposition.
Yes.
And we will have a more organized country post any election, unlike what we have now. The gaps of our Constitution 2010, which excludes a big majority of Kenyans from participating in leadership. But with the creation of the office of the Prime Minister, leader of the opposition and Prime Minister, it widens the scope. We must run Kenya in an inclusive manner. And I think that is what the President is so committed about, that we need everybody on board to move the country. There will be those who will be in government. There will be those who will be in opposition after any election. And I think this is a format for posterity. It is not a format to satisfy Azimio or to satisfy Kenya Kwanza. It's for posterity, that we have a political structure that is inclusive, so that when we get into any general election, once we come out of the general election, the losers will have their space. The winners will run the government. And I think that is the philosophy. And key urgent issues that needs legislative enactment within given timelines, like that of the Prime Minister, creation of the office of the official leader of the opposition, entrenching the two-third gender rule. We don't need to be talking about it. We need to implement it, and that can be legislation and reorganizing IEBC. Let us have an IEBC that everybody is confident about. When you lose, you know you have lost. When you win, you know the winner is so and so. And elections where we believe are transparent, and we have done it as Kenya. This struggle that we have had have made Kenya one of the best democracies in the world. That's a fact. We all agree. We can sit around this table and discuss about Kenya without fighting. We can share a cup of tea. How sweet was it to see President William Ruto and Raila Odinga holding sticks together with Museveni looking after cows? It's a beautiful thing. People are happy about it. Politics is not about enmity. Politics is about ideological competition. And sometimes you must meet each other midway. Meet each other midway and move on. Because we need to develop the country. What is so urgent is stability, political stability of the country, political assurance of the country, and of course, working on the economy. The cost of living is the economy. Once the country is politically orderly, then people will have peace to work. We can implement any program that we want. The Kenya Kwanza Manifesto and other ideas from other groups can also be mainstream, and we build a country.
Perfect.
Yeah.
As we wind up, I want to ask you this question. It's been 8 months now. The court said that the position of CAS is unconstitutional. You've been calling yourself CAS ever since.
Of course, I'm still gazetted. The Gazette notice has not been revoked, and the matter is under
What did you foresee that you didn't see?
And no, there's nothing that I didn't see. I saw it all. We saw it all, and we contested those.
And now the Committee of Justice and Legal Affairs are now making some amendments.
Now that there is an act in Parliament being legislated to cure the questions that were raised by the court, I think is a good thing. So for us, let's wait for Parliament to dispense of that legislative process. The product of it will guide the next level. Yeah, it will guide the next level of administrative action by the executive. That is beyond us.
Yes.
So we are not campaigning for anything. Any government position, you are appointed at the pleasure of the president.
Yes.
To do some work. That is it. These are not political officers. They are appointed positions, and the president can appoint you and assign you duties anyway. So be it. But for the good of the country, Parliament is agreeing that that cadre of leadership is required for efficient running of the ministries.
Yes.
And delivery of services to the people of Kenya.
All right, Mr. Sossion, you've been calling yourself CS for...
Of course I am. That's my title for now, until otherwise decided by the...
Okay.
I'm requesting, and those of us, and those of us who were sworn in as CSS, effectively, until that act determines the next level. Once the act comes into force,
they are here.
We might have more CSS numbering to 100 or less.
Talk to them, kwa kipole. You know, it's in their hands now.
Maybe he needs to confirm.
Yes?
He needs to confirm if he has been receiving some salary from the treasury.
Is he here?
No, I've not been paid.
On account of that.
No. The court order is very clear. We are not supposed to be paid, and that has been enforced.
You cannot claim the title.
Nothing more. I'm supposed to ask you.
We are only carrying the titles and
the titles. So you've not been earning your salary?
No, we are not earning salaries. That's a fact.
You can't.
The court order was very clear. And you see, the president respects the rule of law.
Right.
And the questions that were raised by the court, and for many judgments that have been ruled against government, the president has moved in to cure them through legislative process, and that is compliance with the rule of law.
Right.
And so even with this one of CSS, the National Government Coordination Amendment Bill is trying to cure the questions that were raised by the court, because we must also respect the rule of law.
Do you have NCGF in your constituencies? Bursaries?
Yeah, we got some additional money, 40 million. Although
so Metulia, Mosop
is because the bill is...
Luanda is okay?
You know, the total amount is about...
The amount is small.
150 million. So you have only received about 70, it's not even half of the amount. And actually that money is not even enough to pay for bursaries, because our push was for bursaries.
Yes.
So we hope now we'll get the rest of the money to do development. The other thing which they have been doing is they will release the money to their accounts, but then delay the most important document called the AIE, Authority to Incur Expenditure. Without that document, you can't spend the money.
So how are you surviving in your respective constituencies? I mean,
it is hard.
It's very difficult. We have just been surviving. I seek and hide game with the parents at times.
You can't even go to Mosop.
At this time, most of the students are back to school, and most of them are looking for the bursaries.
Yes.
And without the bursaries, most of the families are really from low income families, and they depend on these bursaries. And the government has tried, because we know the economic situation we are in as a country, and I think the government has really tried, and they've dispersed almost half of what we expect. Most of it is going to go, of course, to bursaries. The other one is going to come to development. And as such, I think even us as members of parliament, they explained to us, we understood, and we are explaining to also our constituents that let's be patient. And I know it might not be the best thing to tell a parent who actually the student has been sent home, and they are saying, what you're telling, be patient a little bit. Once we get this money dispersed, we'll be able to release the bursaries. But we've talked also to secondary schools ed teachers to make sure that they work with the you that have received the bursary is not be dispersed, but it's coming. They should be able to agree that yes, you can continue with your learning. Once the money comes, we'll be able to So it takes all of us, us as members of parliament, the parents and the students. But at the same time, we are also urging the government to expedite the release of these funds.
Mheshimiwa, you're also playing hide and seek in Luanda constituency.
You know, we are one and the same when it comes to that, because, but fortunately, with the little that we have, we can at least be able to disburse bursaries, which was the biggest challenge that we had. Because we are only 3 months shy of the end of the financial year. And we have received less than 50% of the actually about 40% of the allocation. So you find that infrastructure-wise, we shall lag behind. But at least with what we have been able to receive, we may be able to send kids back to school, because that was our greatest challenge. Because as Mheshimiwa says, you have to play hide and seek to ensure that you are there, you are not there, just to ensure that you manage the situation. But I've seen a number of colleagues have been launching this. I'll personally be giving out mine maybe next week to ensure that at least kids are back to school.
Absolutely. Gentlemen, continue doing what you're doing to the residents of this country. You're doing a good job. And thank you so much for coming to the show. Mheshimiwa Sossion, all the best.
Thank you.
You know what I'm talking about. Thank you so much.
Talk to them.
Don't forget us in your kingdom.
No, ours is to serve the country.
Absolutely.
When given that opportunity.
Former National Gen and Member of Parliament, of course, he called himself CS. That will come to pass, inshallah. Mheshimiwa Maungu, thank you so much for coming and representing the great people of Luanda constituency. Mosop represented by Abraham Kirwa, as well as Kitui Central, Makali. Asante sana, gentlemen, for coming to the show. All right, let's cross over to the other side of GMK after this break. Please stay with us. Good morning. I'm Victor Oloo.